Welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And it is a festive time of year once again, Midge.
It sure is. The Festivus.
And we talked about a lot of various spooky figures of Christmas lore last year, so anyone who's new, definitely go back and check those out.
Yes,
But
some of my favorite episodes.
Yes. But I would argue, what is the modern version of folklore if not pop culture?
True. Yes, I would agree.
Today I want to talk about a modern Christmas weirdo, the Grinch.
Yay! Oh, our other big furry boy.
Our other big furry boy. So what did you think of the Grinch when you were growing up? Were you into the Grinch? Were you freaked out by the Grinch?
Yeah, animated Grinch was very afraid of.
Oh.
I did not like that, like with the close up where he like smiles and his mouth like curls and his little antennas curl and everything. I was very freaked out by that as a kid. But we watched it every year. I liked it, a little scared of it, and then when the Jim Carrey version came along, I became way too obsessed.
See, and I feel like we have had an opposite
as we typically do.
Typically do. Yeah, we definitely watched the animated Grinch special every year, and I was into it. I was and arguably still am extremely off put by the live action Grinch. But we will talk about those in detail later on. But we will start at the beginning, a very good place to start.
Very good place to start, yeah.
So How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a children's book by Dr. Seuss that came out in October of 1957. And I'm guessing most people know this story, but just in case you don't, we do have like international listeners, and I'm not sure how international the Grinch is.
He hasn't done a world tour yet.
He has not. So this was actually the first Dr. Seuss book that had a villain as the central character, and also the first Dr. Seuss book to have an adult be like the featured character. Because every other one, the protagonist was a kid up until then. Which is just a fun little fact there.
I guess is like because the Grinch is the protagonist and the antagonist.
That's what I was gonna say. I put in central character because it feels weird to call the Grinch the protagonist. Although he is.
He has an arc.
He does. He does. Yes. So this book is about a mean green furry guy named the Grinch who lives up on a mountaintop, and he looks down at a village called Whoville, and he hates all those Whos and their Christmas, and it's loud and it's bright and he doesn't like it. And so he decides one year, and also, so it is established, it says that he's like heard them for 53 years. So the Grinch is at least 53 years old.
That for some reason makes it more unsettling for me. I can't explain why. I don't know how old I thought the Grinch was. I need him to either be like in his mid-30s or I need him to be like 150. But something about him just being like a middle-aged man doesn't sit well with me.
Right, just a cranky middle-aged man.
Yeah.
So he decides that he is going to go down to Whoville and he is going to steal all their presents. He's going to steal the decorations. He's going to steal all the stuff that they're going to make for their Christmas dinner, and then they won't be able to have Christmas, and they're all going to cry and be sad, and he will be happy about that because he's a mean
suck it,
old
Whoville.
Grinch. Yeah. So he does, in fact, do all of that. He steals all of those things, but when he wakes up on Christmas morning, the Whos are not sad. They are still celebrating Christmas, and the Grinch realizes that Christmas is more than just the commercial trappings of it. It is about love and about connection, and he has a change of heart. As they say, his heart grew 3 sizes that day, and he brings back all of the Christmas stuff, and he joins the Whos for their Christmas celebration, and he is a reformed man.
A heartwarming tale.
Indeed. So when you talked about like not thinking about how old the Grinch was, this is somewhat related. I never really thought about like the word, but like Dr. Seuss invented the word Grinch.
Right.
So it was actually used in 2 previous books slash poems of his that had no relation to the Grinch as we know him. He just referred to something as like a, I don't know, like warble-billed Grinch or something, as Dr. Seuss is prone to do. But he has, I mean, it's so much joined kind of the popular lexicon, much like another fictional Christmas curmudgeon, Scrooge.
I was about to say, it's the Scrooge effect, yeah.
It is, and now people say just Grinch all the time. So there you go. So a little bit of backstory about the inspiration for how the Grinch stole Christmas. So Dr. Seuss's first wife, Helen Palmer, was also his editor and dealt with a lot of medical issues throughout her life. And Dr. Seuss had said that he was inspired to write the book when he looked himself in the mirror on December 26th after, like dealing with all these health problems, being frustrated about like kind of the capitalism and commercialization of Christmas, and said that he felt Grinchy and was like, I should write a story about this. And apparently he was like 53 years old when he started this. So it is kind of like the Grinch and Dr. Seuss are connected in that way. Which is intriguing.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
All coming together. And I'm going to give just a quick shout out to politics. Hey, everyone's favorite segment, getting political on Ghouls Night In. So Dr. Seuss has most recently been in political news due to books that had racist imagery being pulled. And that was a bad thing, and it is good to remove those. But on the whole, his messaging was very progressive. Like, obviously, those things were bad, but he has a lot of anti-war, anti-nuclear, anti-consumerist messages in his work. And I think this is a, I think it is like very similar to A Christmas Carol in that way, where you kind of are introduced to looking beyond kind of the physical trappings of Christmas and learning more about kind of this idea of connection and togetherness that you can be like, wait, actually, Christmas is good.
I like to think about Charles Dickens hearing us compare the Grinch as like our modern day Christmas Carol. I'm sure he would be like, excuse me? That furry green thing is what you're talking about? It's a children's book?
My man Ebenezer. Yeah. So adaptations. The animated adaptation that many of us know and love came out in 1966 and was, as you and I know, but maybe other people don't know, narrated by horror icon Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It all comes back to us eventually.
It does. Obviously, this was a first unknowing exposure to, this horror great for a lot of kids. And the animated feature did also introduce the song You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which was written by Dr. Seuss himself. And apparently Boris Karloff just could not sing. So this song was uncredited, but performed by Thurl Ravenscroft, which is just like the most badass name. Like,
that is a great name.
You want to talk about a good horror name, Thurl Ravenscroft.
Ravenscroft. I kind of wish though that, because a lot of horror hosts and stuff, like monster music was so popular in the 60s, kind of that speak singy. I almost wish that Boris would have just done it in like monster music style. Because the Grinch is kind of a monster.
He is. He is a Christmas monster.
He's a Christmas. We have another Christmas monster. Exactly. I know you literally opened the episode that way, but my brain literally was like, wow, he is. That's so great.
Yes. And just another little horror sprinkling in. So many people know Thurl Ravenscroft as the voice of Tony the Tiger. That part's not horror. But the next one is he is also the lead singing bust on the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, he did a lot of voice work for Disney, and you may recognize his deep melodious tones.
When a quick go quick, then a goes quick.
Exactly. All right, and now we have come all the way from 1966 to 2000 when the live action Grinch starring Jim Carrey appears.
I would just like to say that if you are a person like me who had undiagnosed ADHD at this point in your life, this is the most quotable film of all time, though. And like, because of the way that Jim Carrey presents lines and things, like his tonality and his cadence, it's like it sticks in your ears if you're, especially like for neurodivergent people. So I think I hooked to this movie because Queen, I was doing the voices. I was putting on floor shows. Like I was doing the film by myself in a living room on Christmas Eve at like my uncle's house, giving the full Grinch fantasy. Like I could probably still right now sit here and quote that movie to you verbatim, cover to cover.
Yeah, it is like, I mean, I will have this in my notes, but like it was a pretty mixed reviews on the movie. Like it was not like a critical success, but like I feel like this is by far like the most like sticky version of the Grinch, if that makes sense. Like you still
like the most people watch it every year.
People think of this. Yeah. They're like, they see, even if they're not like, oh, I'm watching this, like there's always memes, there's always quotes, there's TikTok sounds. Obviously there's, all the Grinchmas stuff at Universal Studios. So like it definitely has kind of a leading place in sort
power.
Of like Grinch pop culture.
in Grinch canon and Grinch lore. Canon,
yes. So fun facts about this movie. So Dr. Seuss always refused to sell film rights to his work. So he did not sell any of the film rights while he was alive. But after his death, his widow Audrey did start licensing work from the estate.
Get that bag, Audrey.
Right. So I found this delightful. So in July 1998, it was announced via a letter that she would be auctioning off the film rights to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So you had to like do a presentation and bring your like plan to her. You had to be willing to pay $5 million for the rights.
Oh my God.
And hand over 4% of the gross, 50% of all merchandising, and 70% of any income from book tie-ins.
I say once again, get that bag, Audrey.
Yep. It also said that any actor who was going to be considered for the Grinch must be, this is a quote, must be of comparable stature to Jack Nicholson, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, and Dustin Hoffman.
Huh.
So obviously they got that Jim Carrey bag, but like from the beginning, she was like, I'm not having you put any C-lister as the Grinch. Like this is going to
tell you right now that if Jack Nicholson had played that role, I could not have sat through that film.
That would have been
horrifying. Yeah, like it would have been great.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been great, but in a way that I wouldn't have been able to handle.
Right. And it also said that you could not have a director or a writer who had not done at least $1 million picture before. So,
well, boy howdy, I've got great news for you.
Yes. So obviously they did get Jim Carrey for it. Tim Burton was considered to direct, but there were scheduling conflicts with Sleepy Hollow.
I'm glad he did that instead. That's
yeah. It's like we needed to have that.
I don't want to live in the parallel universe that got Jack Nicholson's The Grinch directed by Tim Burton.
Right? Oh my goodness! Just imagine all the spirals.
Oh God.
And Audrey also retained veto power over the screenplay. And so apparently, like, the draft that they presented to her had a lot of more, like, sexual innuendos and, like, jokes where, like, I think it said the Grinch had, like, the Cat in the Hat's head mounted on a wall or something. And she was like, no.
Absolutely
we're not doing that. So I definitely saw this. I think this movie was on, like, at school at some point. but I have never like actually sat down and watched it because
Really?
I find I'm not a big Jim Carrey person.
Oh, see, I
Like
am.
I was also like very like uncomfortable with like even like Ace Ventura. Like when he, even without crazy makeup on, I just find his mannerisms. I feel like it's kind of like how you don't like animatronics.
Like
Like
it's
Jim
Uncanny
Carrey
Valley.
is an animatronic to me
He
when he's
moves in
doing
an
like
inhuman way.
yeah, like in his full shtick. Like I've liked him in like some of his, you know, more like serious roles, but I just find him uncomfortable to watch. I'm sorry, Jim Carrey.
We know you're listening, Jim. We're so
Yes,
sorry.
I'm sorry about it. I know your career means nothing if not for Penny Snark's approval, but
No, but I could see that he does have something a little not quite human about him when
yeah,
he's in
it's
full
very exaggerated.
mode. Yeah, especially the mouth movements.
Yes, and so this movie does give a lot more backstory, obviously, to the Grinch, fleshes out other characters, since really in the book it's just like, here's the Grinch, and like Cindy Lou Who is named, but she doesn't really have like she doesn't have a personality of her own apart from
Right.
being cute and precious. Another horror icon looped in here, the Grinch live action is narrated by Anthony Hopkins.
Oh my, it is.
It is
Wow.
Anthony Hopkins.
I've never really like thought about it, but yeah, surely.
This is an Oscar-winning film. It won the Oscar for Best Makeup. And the Grinch costume was made out of dyed yak fur.
Come on, yak fur.
Yak fur. It was apparently like really unpleasant. It was like intense makeup, and it sounds like Jim Carrey was kind of like a big asshole on set, and
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Was like, presumably he was frustrated about like the makeup being uncomfortable, but apparently he like kicked a hole in a makeup trailer or something, and one of the other actors like left the set and was like, "I'm not coming back until you chill out, dude." And he did chill out and was better through the rest of it. But
well, that's something at least.
And like, obviously I have not worn Grinch makeup, so cannot relate. I'm not here to say whether it was or wasn't uncomfortable, but it just made me think of like, there was an interview. There have been several interviews just like with Marvel actors where like the actors are like bitching about their costumes all the time, and all of the female co-stars are just like, oh, what? Being uncomfortable physically
was that
with the things you wear?
You?
What's that like? Weird. And just being like, I'm specifically thinking of one with like Evangeline Lilly, who, you know, was in Ant-Man stuff and was just kind of like, all of these guys are complaining about this all the time, and it's like, I wear heels to everything,
right?
That it is no more uncomfortable than like stuff
Beauty
I
is
am expected to wear like on the red carpet.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, and also like, I don't know, with stuff like that, you also like, you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
Like, you signed up to play the Grinch, you're going to be covered in hair. Step one. Like, it's
right. And
I
just think of like all of the crazy shit that like Doug Jones has worn for
a king,
all of his things, and you know that he is a deer. So
Doug Jones as the Grinch, directed by Tim Burton.
Oh man, now that would be the true spookies. So we do have some other Grinch adaptations.
I hope you're going to talk about it. I'm so ready.
So in 2000, there was also a computer game released. There was a stage musical that was initially produced in 1996 that had a Broadway run in 2006, and then toured and was the final like NBC musical thing when they were doing those like series of musicals.
Like live, yeah.
Yes. It ended up not being live because of COVID, but it starred Matthew Morrison from Glee as the Grinch. This was widely panned. I did watch a clip of this on YouTube, and it was pretty rough. So
it was, yeah. I'm a firm believer that Matthew Morrison shouldn't be in anything ever, so that was a disappointment.
Yeah. There was the 2018 computer animated Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch voicing the Grinch. I did not see this. It's apparently the highest grossing holiday movie of all time.
Truly?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I would have guessed like Home Alone.
Yeah.
That's like that. I saw this is this is what you were just talking about. Like, this is a movie I've had on in the background before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my husband's family has put this on, and it did not keep my interest whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
from what I'm reading, it sounds like people were kind of like, it's fine, but it doesn't like do anything different with
yeah.
Grinch things. But yeah, I remember when it was coming out, and I was just kind of like, why are we
Again?
doing this?
Are you sure?
Like, okay, I guess. But that does bring us to this year. And in fact,
Yeah.
but 2 days before the recording of this, The Mean One was
Mean one,
released.
mean one, mean one.
So this is an unauthorized Grinch horror parody, which features a grown-up Cindy Lou Who kicking the Grinch's ass after he murders her parents. So okay, true story. I was like watching this, and I was like, this sounds like a YouTube trailer parody. And in
Yeah.
fact, it was literally a YouTube trailer parody. And they were like, well, this was so popular, let's make a whole movie of it.
Yeah, these weird horror parodies popping, like they did the 100 Acre Wood one too earlier
Mm-hmm.
this year. That was like the Winnie the Pooh slasher. I'm living for them. I think this is like the most weird, fun genre of horror. I have not gotten to delve into Mean One yet, but I've been hyped about it. Like, ever since I saw the first little teaser, I my body is ready.
Yes. I will say the initial reviews are not strong. So
But
view
like
at your own risk.
I feel like you go in knowing it's not gonna be good.
Yeah, I see. The thing that I was like, oh yeah, like this sounds fun, but like everything that I was reading where people were like, this isn't like campy and fun, it's just
Oh.
boring.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Which is
need it to be
unfortunate
camp.
because like it could be like super campy. So I don't know. I have not
Yeah.
seen it. So if you're
I
interested in it, check it out. I think it's showing at like one theater like 50 minutes away from me. So maybe once it goes on streaming, I'll check it out. But
Yeah, it has to be
yes,
camp if you're gonna do that, for
right?
sure. It needs to
Yeah,
be like directed by John Waters. Like
yes. Oh man, like a super campy. I would. You know what I would love? I would love a drag Grinch movie.
Yeah.
That
I
would
need
be
it to be
great.
like I need it to be like Freddy Krueger-esque. Like, he needs to be like an old
Yes.
queen.
Yes, a
And
bitchy Grinch.
yeah.
Which is kind of the Jim Carrey Grinch, but
And that's on, yeah.
yeah, I love I feel like my favorite Grinch thing is just still the song, because every time that comes on like Christmas radio, I'm just like, "Oh hell yeah. It's time. It's time for
It's
me
a bop.
to do a full performance of this song." We did sing it in honors choir in middle school. So
You and your little green hair, you're like da 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 da.
right, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do like a Grinch outfit.
Yeah, I'm surprised you've never done like a little Grinch closet cosplay with your hair.
Yeah, I should. That would be fun. I have thought about it, but maybe this will be the year. We'll see. But yeah, I just
Everybody
think that
go hold her to it.
he is like you said, he is in fact a Christmas monster, and I think that he was worthy of discussion.
Yeah, Christmas needed a good villain, and I'm glad that we found it in the Grinch. At
Yes.
least as a mainstream horror villain. Krampus is catching on now, but it took too long to get here,
Yes.
so we needed someone to hold down the fort in the meantime, and the Grinch was doing a great job.
Right. And like, I mean, truly like the Grinch stands for leftist ideals, so I'm here for that. He's like,
Yes.
fuck this
He said
capitalism.
anti-capitalism,
Hell
yes.
nah. Hell nah.
We're gonna have two Ghouls Night In t-shirts. One says Vincent Price said human rights, and the other one says the Grinch said like abolish capitalism.
Hell yeah. Oh man. All right, friends, let us know what your favorite piece of Grinch media is. Are you also afraid of Jim Carrey? What's up? What are you thinking?
The true Christmas monster.
The true Christmas, the
Jimothy
scariest
Carrey.
monster, Jim Carrey. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And we love talking to you. We love sharing our spooky little stories. And we love to hear what you're thinking about them. So if you have time to give us a rating or a review where you listen, it really helps us out. And I believe we have a review to read today.
We sure do. Once again, Apple Podcasts has betrayed me, and it says, my fave pod to listen to while meh. And
I saw this on my laptop. It's making
dinner. Okay, I assumed, but I wasn't sure. This is from Molly Nator. And she says, I love this podcast so much. The format is really pleasant and digestible for me. The length is perfect for my subpar attention span, and the content is top tier. Keep up the good spooky work. Thank you, Molly.
It's good for our subpar attention spans
I was gonna say, we did that very on purpose. Totally for you and not at all for us.
All right. Well, thanks again, friends. If you would like to follow along with the podcast and give us Grinch opinions, you can find us on Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod, and you can find me at Penny Snark.
And you can find me at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
goodbye.
Bye.